They say there are paths that cannot be seen with the naked eye, secret passages hidden from hurried gazes, revealed only to those ready to cross them. These are not roads paved with stone or guarded by gates, but bridges woven of silence, trust, and the courage to dream. This is the story of an invisible bridge, suspended between worlds, made not of wood or iron, but of light and memory, guardian of secrets leading into parallel realms. Night stretched across the sky like an endless mantle of velvet, scattered with stars that shimmered as though they were alive. The wind moved softly, carrying scents long forgotten, the fragrance of flowers that only bloomed under the gaze of the moon. The air was different, thick with expectation, as though every leaf, every stone, every grain of sand was holding its breath. Silence ruled, but it was not an empty silence, it was full, brimming with presence, as if the world itself waited for something wondrous to be revealed. At the heart of a hidden valley flowed a tranquil river. Its waters mirrored the sky, doubling the infinite. Anyone standing at its shore would feel it. This was Northwest ordinary place. For centuries, travelers whispered about the valley. Some swore they had seen reflections in the water that did not belong to this world. Others told of hearing music rising from the current, notes too delicate to be of earthly origin. And there were those who claimed they had stepped into the void only to feel solid ground beneath their feet. Legends said that on certain nights, when the winds fell silent and the moon veiled itself in golden mist, the bridge appeared. Yet no eye could truly see it. It revealed itself not through sight, but through presence. Made not of matter but of energy, memory, and dream, its arches shone only for those who approached with an open heart. Every step upon it did not lead only forward in space, but also inward, into another realm. No one agreed on where the bridge led. Some spoke of kingdoms of suspended waters, where waterfalls rose upward into the sky. Others described eternal forests, where trees sang in voices as soft as a lullaby, carrying weary travelers into deep sleep. Still others claimed to have found cities made of crystal, towers frozen in time, streets where silence itself kept watch. The accounts differed, but all carried one truth: to cross the bridge was to cross into the soul itself. The mystery never ceased to enchant. Many believed the bridge chose its travelers, appearing only to those carrying real questions in their hearts. Not questions of wealth or power, but questions of meaning, of destiny, of what lies beyond the visible. It was said the bridge was a reflection of the human search for significance, a timeless invitation to discover more than the eyes could ever perceive. On that night, the valley seemed alive. The river gleamed as though it had swallowed entire constellations, and the air carried a melody so soft it felt like silence itself singing. Anyone present would have felt it, a subtle shiver, the unmistakable promise of revelation. The bridge was there, still unseen, but waiting. Picture the scene: you stand at the river's edge, gazing into water so still it mirrors the sky perfectly. The moon, veiled by drifting clouds, looks larger, nearer, as if watching over you. The wind whispers, ancient and knowing, carrying memories not just of your own life, but of countless others who had come before. Your heart beats not with fear, but with expectancy. Something is about to happen. Suddenly, a glow stirs upon the river's surface. Not the reflection of the moon, not the flicker of a falling star, but a golden line, so faint it nearly disappears, yet so radiant it captures your eyes. That line grows, stretching, multiplying, weaving itself into arcs of invisible light. Slowly, the water is no longer just water. A structure forms before you. Solid, steady, a bridge of light. The air shifts. Each breath feels lighter, as if gravity itself had loosened its hold. Your heart quickens, sensing the choice: remain on the known shore, or take the first step into the unseen. And here lies the fascination that bound travelers through centuries, for those who crossed did not merely change their location. They opened doors within themselves. The invisible bridge was more than a path. It was a promise of encountering realms that existed in parallel, worlds not charted on any map, but alive in the depths of imagination. Worlds where reality bowed into poetry, where time curved into silence, where each step was both journey and revelation. And so, the crossing began. The story unfolding now is not only about rivers, valleys, or starlit skies. It is about secrets hidden in the human heart, about the courage to trust the unseen, and about the belief that there are realms beyond this one, waiting for the moment to reveal themselves. The invisible bridge lies before you. And beyond it, parallel kingdoms await your arrival. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath, as if the air filling your lungs were woven with starlight. Feel the softness of this instant as though you were sinking gently into calm waters, leaving behind the weight of the day. This is not simply an invitation to listen to a story. It is an invitation to journey beyond the limits of urgency, beyond the boundaries of ordinary reality. Imagine yourself walking slowly into a place where time itself has chosen to rest, pausing only so you can experience the present in its purest form. Around you stretches a landscape that does not hurry, does not demand, but simply welcomes. A tranquil valley opens before you, and in it every detail glows as if it were the very first moment of creation. The trees seem to breathe with you. Their leaves sway gently, carried not by forceful wind but by a tender breeze that caresses, reminding you of life's quiet rhythm. The sky, painted in deep shades of blue and violet, curves like a protective mantle above. Stars shimmer softly, and each one seems to whisper stories from long-forgotten ages, guiding your imagination forward. Before you, a river flows in silence, its waters mirroring the glow of the moon. Its movement is unhurried, sliding gracefully as though every drop already knows its path. As you approach the edge, you notice the surface is more than a reflection, it is a living canvas. Each ripple sketches shapes, symbols, signs that seem to call your attention. Breathe again, deeply. The air itself is soaked in serenity. Each particle seems to carry the power to dissolve worries, to lighten thoughts. With every inhale, your mind grows clearer. With every exhale, burdens fall away like dust swept from forgotten corners. And in this space where time is suspended, a different sensation awakens. It feels as though every part of the landscape, the still trees, the silver river, the endless sky, is aware of your presence. There is no separation between you and this world. You are not only observing, you are part of it, part of the rhythm, part of the eternal balance. Now let your imagination expand further. With your eyes still closed, more layers of this place reveal themselves. The grass beneath your feet is not only grass, it is a living carpet, pulsing faintly as though the earth itself were breathing. The stars, once distant, seem to lean closer, their light bending to guide your path across invisible bridges. Time no longer counts. There are no minutes, no seconds. There is only the vastness of now. And now is endless. It stretches out like an ocean of silence and calm where no demand exists, only possibility. Every step you take in this valley is more than movement, it is ritual, sacred and unspoken. At the valley's heart, a soft energy vibrates like music. Not sound, but resonance. You feel it humming through your body, as if every cell remembered an ancient melody. This vibration soothes you, warms you, cradles you. It is as if the entire landscape is singing a lullaby written before time began, yet meant precisely for this moment. There is no rush to arrive anywhere. The purpose here is not destination but journey. The present itself becomes passage, and you realize that walking can be resting, that dreaming can be waking, that you can exist between realities without needing to choose only one. Allow yourself to trust. There is nothing to fear, for this space was made for you. The valley, the river, the sky, the invisible music, they all gather only to welcome you. There is no right or wrong here. No beginning, no ending. Only the smooth continuity of an experience that unfolds like a bridge between worlds. And as you accept this invitation, you realize that you are not simply listening to a bedtime story. You are becoming part of it. With each breath, with each beat of your heart, the invisible bridge begins to take shape within you. The path to parallel realms does not start outside, it begins inside your imagination, in surrender to silence, in trust that mysteries are waiting to be revealed. Surrounded by this atmosphere, you take the first step into immersion. You are no longer just a listener, you are a traveler. The suspended time, the quiet valley, the shimmering river, everything aligns to receive you. From this moment forward, the crossing is ready to begin. The valley opened like a secret guarded by time, a place where nature itself seemed to have chosen to rest. At first glance, nothing in this landscape announced grandeur. There were no colossal mountains or towers rising into the heavens. And yet, within a single heartbeat, one could feel it, this was no ordinary valley. Here, every detail carried the weight of eternity. Under the watchful glow of the moon, a river wound its way through the heart of the valley, glimmering as though woven from liquid silver. Its surface mirrored the night sky with such perfection that it felt as if two moons dwelled in that space, one suspended above and another floating within the current. At times, gentle ripples caught the light, sketching luminous shapes across the water, as if fallen stars had dissolved into its surface. The riverbanks were lined with fields of nocturnal flowers, blossoms that opened only under the gaze of the stars. White, violet, and golden, they leaned with the tender breath of a breeze so delicate it seemed crafted for this moment alone. Their fragrance drifted into the air, sweet, cool, indescribably soothing. It was a scent that awakened forgotten memories, dissolving the weight of restless thoughts, while guiding the body toward a state of deep calm and rest. Silence reigned, Yet it was not empty. It was a silence alive, woven with layers of subtle sound that revealed themselves only to attentive ears. The river whispered its secrets as it flowed, the leaves exchanged hushed confidences when the breeze passed through, and now and then the distant cry of unseen birds echoed across the night. These were not ordinary birds. Their calls were elongated, melodic, almost otherworldly, as though carrying ancestral songs through the dark, reminding any listener that the valley was guarded by presences beyond sight. Above, the sky unveiled itself as an endless stage. Stars crowded its velvet expanse, so sharp and clear that they seemed to lean closer to the earth. Some pulsed softly, others burned with steady brilliance, but together they shaped constellations so vivid they felt like living maps, guides to those who dared follow the paths of the heavens. At the center of it all, the full moon reigned, pouring silver light over the valley's curves, tracing shifting patterns on the surface of the river below. This was not a landscape meant only to be admired. It was magnetic, alive, brimming with quiet promise. To stand within it was to feel suspended between reality and imagination. Every element, the glowing river, the perfumed fields, the luminous sky, seemed poised in anticipation. The valley was no backdrop, it was a stage, prepared for something wondrous. The longer one lingered, the more tangible that sense of expectation became. The distant cries of the birds were not mere music, but signals. The shimmer of the river was not only reflection, but invitation. The silence was not emptiness, but presence, pregnant with discovery, thick with secrets waiting to unfold. The serenity of this place was so complete that the body responded without effort. The heart slowed. Thoughts loosened their grip. A deep peace began to root itself within, as though time itself had chosen to sleep, creating space for revelation. To enter the valley was not to visit, it was to be transformed. The landscape was not simply seen, it was absorbed, impressed upon the spirit as an intimate experience. And yet, beneath that calm, there was something more. A subtle energy lingered in the air, almost imperceptible yet impossible to ignore. It shimmered like a faint current, a quiet electricity that carried no threat but spoke of promise. It felt as though the valley breathed with those who entered, recognizing, welcoming, and preparing them for a passage yet to come. This was the initial setting, a serene valley, a river glowing beneath the moonlight, a sky bending low with stars, and the night's silence punctuated by the calls of distant, unseen birds. It was not merely a place of beauty, but a threshold. The valley itself seemed to whisper without words, "This is not the end of your path, it is the beginning. Be still. Listen. Something extraordinary is about to unfold." And so, within this hushed and luminous scene, the human heart began to open. For even before the invisible bridge appeared, it was already clear, the journey had begun. There are stories that survived the passing of centuries not because they were written on parchment or preserved in books, but because they echoed from mouth to mouth, whispered across generations like embers that refused to die. And in that quiet valley, guarded by moonlight and rivers of silver, there lived a rumor older than memory itself, the existence of an invisible bridge. The oldest travelers spoke of it as one speaks of a secret, half feared, half longed for. They said that on certain nights, when the winds fell silent and the valley seemed suspended between two realities, a bridge would appear above the river. But it was not built of stone, like the grand works of human hands. Nor was it carved from wood, like the humble paths linking distant villages. The invisible bridge was something beyond matter. They claimed it was woven of light and memory, shaped from the fabric of dreams and the essence of the human heart. No two accounts were the same. Some swore its arches gleamed like crystal beneath the moon, shifting colors with every breath. Others insisted that there was no form at all, only a firmness underfoot, as if the air itself solidified to bear their weight. Still others believed the bridge did not reveal itself to the eyes but to the heart, that it was the spirit, not the body, that crossed. Yet in every telling there was one certainty: the bridge revealed itself only to those who walked with open hearts. Ambition could not summon it, nor greed, nor empty curiosity. To approach with heavy intentions was to see nothing but a silent river. Only those willing to surrender to mystery, to trust in what could not be seen, could glimpse it, and only they could take the first step. Some believed the bridge was more than a passage, it was a test, a subtle mirror reflecting the true essence of the traveler. A few returned saying they had felt burdens lift from their shoulders, as though they had left behind in the valley everything that no longer served them. Others confessed they could not take a single step, for something deep within held them back. And then there were the rarest of all, those who claimed to have crossed and discovered what lay beyond. They spoke of parallel realms, worlds hidden yet alive, vibrating at a different frequency. One described waters that flowed upward, rising into the stars. Another recalled wandering through eternal forests, where trees sang gentle lullabies that carried him into deep, restorative sleep. Some spoke of cities made of crystal and silence, where time itself seemed to have no dominion. With every new account, the legend grew. Yet with every new detail, certainty faded further. For the bridge never appeared the same way twice. It seemed to mold itself to the traveler's heart, revealing only what each soul was ready to encounter. This mystery made the rumor more than a tale whispered on cold nights, it became an unspoken invitation. To hear it was to feel called, to sense that one day, you too might stand at the river's edge and discover whether the bridge would rise before your eyes. Thus the legend passed down through generations. The young listened wide-eyed, the elders repeated it with reverence, and solitary wanderers carried it as a silent guide. It was never only about crossing into another world. It was about crossing into oneself. The ancients believed the bridge was woven of memory, both collective and intimate. It was the fabric of human dreams interlaced with the hidden design of the universe. Some claimed each star in the sky was a memory preserved, and when reflected on the river they illuminated the path of the bridge. Others believed the moon itself stood as guardian of the portal, keeping vigil until the appointed moment of its appearance. And to the wisest, the bridge was a living metaphor, proof that some paths can only be walked by those who dare to believe. The rumor was never simply about what could be seen or crossed. It was about trust, about faith in the unseen, about the quiet courage of opening the heart to the unknown. For, they said, it was this surrender that lit the bridge, like fire revealing itself only when touched by the right breath. And so the valley waited, night after night, holding the possibility. The silver river could, at any moment, become a passage. The silence could transform into music. The darkness could blossom with light. All it required was a soul at peace, willing to stand at the edge and wait. That was the rumor of the legend, an invisible bridge, woven not of stone or wood, but of light and memory, awaiting only those who understood that the true journey does not begin outside, but within the heart. It began so quietly that it might have been missed. The valley still lay in silence, cradled beneath the glow of the moon and the soft murmur of the river. Nothing seemed out of place, and yet, something subtle, delicate, almost invisible, began to change the atmosphere. A golden mist rose gently over the surface of the water. It did not rush, nor did it threaten. It unfolded like a veil spun from the night's own light, stretching little by little, drawing every gaze into its secret patterns. At first, the mist looked no different from the reflection of the moon, as if the river carried a hidden flame inside itself. But soon, it became clear this was something more. The haze spread with its own quiet will, moving in shapes that resembled strands of silk weaving through the air. These luminous threads crossed and twined, dissolving and reforming, sketching fleeting patterns that seemed to hold messages just beyond understanding. The wind fell still. The distant birds ceased their calls. Even the flowers along the banks seemed to bow in reverence to that moment. The entire valley turned its attention toward the quiet spectacle forming before watchful eyes. And though no sound came, it felt as though the mist whispered, announcing that something extraordinary was about to happen. The golden light shimmered across the water as though the river had been transformed into living fabric. Tiny ripples sent the glow into motion, and each reflection seemed to open a passage to another place. For an instant, one might glimpse landscapes that did not belong to this world, distant towers of crystal, immense trees lit by inner stars, or oceans suspended in the sky. Nothing was fixed, nothing solid, yet each vision hinted that this was more than mist. It was an omen, a quiet sign that the border between realities was thinning. It was impossible not to sense that the golden haze had its own awareness. It did not drift aimlessly but moved with purpose, as though guided by a secret design. Its luminous threads wove and unwove themselves, as if invisible hands were weaving a tapestry between worlds. It was a silent, slow, hypnotic dance, engaging not only the eyes but also the heart of anyone watching. Anticipation filled the air. Each breath felt lighter, tinged with energy, as though every particle carried a promise. To inhale in that moment was to absorb something ancient, a resonance like forgotten songs or dreams never lived. The body relaxed while the soul awakened, keenly aware of the rarity of this encounter. With each passing moment, the mist thickened, not enough to hide the river, but enough to turn it into a mirror reflecting parallel universes. The golden veil shimmered not only with moonlight but also with tiny sparks glowing like living stars hovering just above the surface. They pulsed in different rhythms, like the steady beating of invisible hearts. Ancient travelers once said that this was the moment when two worlds began to touch. The veil between realities grew thin, delicate, almost translucent. The river was no longer just a river, but a threshold. And the golden mist was the omen that the invisible bridge was near. To witness such a sight was to drift into a waking dream. The mind shed the weight of time, thoughts slowed, and presence alone remained. Calmness settled so deeply that the heartbeat fell into rhythm with the shimmering mist. And in that rhythm, the body and spirit aligned with something vast, something beyond the reach of sight. The entire landscape joined in the omen's song. The sky held its stars brighter than ever, the river sustained the golden dance, and the air pulsed with quiet magic. Nothing in it threatened, instead, it comforted, like a gentle invitation offered by the night itself. And then, certainty bloomed, silent but undeniable. The invisible bridge was near. There were no trumpets, no thunder, no grand signs. Only the softness of a golden mist, threads of light weaving between worlds, and the quiet knowing that the impossible was about to become real. This was the omen. A silent, beautiful, magnetic sign that prepared the soul for crossing. For only attentive hearts would recognize in that golden veil not just mist, but the first revelation, that parallel realms were drawing near, ready to welcome those who dared to step forward. The river, which until then had mirrored only the moon and the stars, began to glow with a different kind of light. It was not simply reflection, it was its own radiance, delicate and magnetic, making every ripple shine as if liquid stars had settled upon its surface. The entire valley seemed to hold its breath before this transformation. With each moment, more points of brilliance appeared across the water until a living constellation spread across the current, moving softly as though the universe itself had descended to dance upon the stream. The traveler approaching the riverbank felt a subtle shift in the air. The silence was no longer mere absence of sound but a field of expectation. His heartbeat slowed, falling into rhythm with the luminous cadence of the water. The breeze carried the faint sweetness of nocturnal blossoms, and their perfume seemed to whisper a message: the time has come. Extending a foot toward the bank, he expected damp earth or the instability of scattered stones. Instead, an unexpected firmness rose to meet him. His step was held steady, though before his eyes there was nothing but shimmering light. The paradox stunned him. He walked on something solid, yet all he could see was brilliance dancing over the water. A shiver ran through his body, not of fear, but of reverence. It was as though he had touched something sacred, something that bound two worlds together. The river was no longer only a river but a passage, and before him, invisible to ordinary sight yet undeniable to the heart, the bridge awaited. The ripples shifted into strange, purposeful designs, forming lines that intersected in precise angles. Each curve seemed aligned with the stars above, as though the reflections were part of a hidden architecture. It was like gazing at a map that could not be read with words but only felt within the soul. With every step, the ground beneath remained firm, as though made of invisible crystal. The breeze vibrated softly against his skin, carrying warmth that confirmed, "You are on the path." The bridge did not reveal itself with arches or railings or visible structure. It existed through light, through resonance, through the certainty within. To an observer from afar, it would seem as though a lone figure was walking across water lit by stars, defying the ordinary laws of reality. Yet for the one who crossed, nothing about it felt impossible. It was natural, as if the bridge had always been there, waiting for this moment to awaken. The river's glow reflected on his form, giving the illusion that he too was made of light. Each step transformed him into part of the landscape. There was no separation, he was both traveler and crossing. Time itself unraveled. Minutes and hours dissolved. There was only movement, slow and serene, over the river's golden-silver expanse. A sense of safety grew stronger with every pace. Invisible hands seemed to hold him, guiding each step. Doubt fell away. Fear had no place here. Only surrender remained. The invisible bridge did not reveal itself to the eyes but to the heart. And the more the heart trusted, the stronger the path became. The luminous waves whispered as he moved forward. Every shimmer seemed to carry fragments of memory, glimpses of other realms waiting beyond. Castles of light, endless forests, suspended seas, visions passed like brief sparks, promises of what lay ahead. The traveler did not rush. He knew each step was part of the ritual. The journey mattered as much as the destination. To trust the invisible was already to discover the first truth of the crossing. And so, within a valley hushed in silence, beneath a canopy of liquid stars, the traveler moved forward. The invitation had been accepted. The crossing had begun. And though the bridge remained unseen, it was undeniable. It was there, solid, luminous, eternal, woven between two worlds. The sound of the water changed. Not suddenly, but like an ancient tide shifting toward a new course. Until then, the river had whispered as rivers always do, steady, liquid, faithful to the gravity of the world. Now, however, a hidden tuning fork seemed to vibrate in its depths. The current sang like a delicate string, its murmur opening into layers, a low note carrying the foundation, a higher one rising gently above it, and in between, subtle harmonics that only the heart could hear. It was music. Distant, faint, yet undeniable. Music as if time itself had tuned the valley to play a lullaby woven from water and stars. The first step came when that music moved through the body from within. The soul found firmness where the eyes swore there was only shimmer. No stone, no wood, no visible bridge, yet there was support. Solid ground, invisible and translucent, answered the step with certainty, as though the world itself replied, "You may continue." In that instant, the river ceased to be mere scenery. It became a path. When the foot touched, sound spread outward in circles, not like a ripple that fades, but like a bell expanding, encompassing everything. The step resonated softly, and that softness carried through the air, brushed against the skin, and calmed the mind. It was no echo of stone but the echo of a place that remembered ancient crossings, passages once made by souls who trusted in the unseen. The body absorbed that memory, and the memory, in turn, invited another step. The river's music grew clearer. A slow rhythm unfolded, matched by the breath and the heartbeat. Inhale, advance, exhale, rest. The rippling water aligned beneath each movement, silver and gold ribbons flowing parallel, forming shimmering lanes like overlapping roads of light. Each step revealed another harmony, as though walking awakened a score written ages ago, waiting to be read not by eyes but by feet. It felt like walking upon the sky itself, mirrored in the river below. not because the heavens were beneath, but because above and below no longer mattered. Reflection had become participation. The celestial dome stretched endlessly, multiplied in the water, turning into a star map at his feet. With every pace, he crossed constellations, brushed orbits, and traced trails among stars. The body felt lighter. Gravity, instead of pulling, seemed to cooperate, offering gentle support for the journey. The valley watched in silence, as though all of creation consented to the crossing. Night-blooming flowers released sweeter fragrance, a reminder that rest was near and that this path was also a bed prepared for deep sleep. The trees, still and solemn, felt as though they leaned inward to offer peace rather than shadow. And the sky, high and reflected, stretched like a great canopy, sheltering the passage. It was a relaxing sleep story written not with words but with air, fragrance, and shimmering water. Each step taught trust and unlearned haste. Distance no longer mattered. The path was not about direction but intention. Moving forward was the intention itself, and the world responded. The invisible ground extended itself exactly where the foot would fall, as though the bridge lived, growing with each step. The river's song adapted to the cadence, and when breath found its rhythm, the music came closer still, until it seemed the journey and the melody were one. Thoughts, those restless travelers, slowed their pace. What once was noise became distant birds gliding silently through the night sky. What remained was presence, the glow around, the warm brush of the breeze, the velvety texture of the air. The heart beat steady as a soft drum, ancient and true. Not urgency, but belonging. To walk here was to be in the right place, at the right time, in the right way. The second step confirmed the promise of the first. The third dissolved the last remnants of doubt. The fourth taught that strength could rest in gentleness. And the fifth revealed not a shape, but a sense, an unshakable conviction that something awaited beyond, not to be possessed but to be recognized. The bridge remained unseen, yet the crossing was undeniable, visible within, in serenity deepening, in clarity forming, in burdens quietly falling away. The river now sounded like a harp. Invisible strings stretched beneath the current, and every step struck a chord, low, high, and endless in resonance. Each note lingered, layering into a soundscape that wrapped around the body. The air vibrated with it, soft and healing, carrying the gift of insomnia relief. Tension melted from hidden corners, muscles unclenched, the face softened, and even the eyes, behind closed lids, found rest. Walking became listening, and listening became resting. The bridge, invisible as thought, gave form to what the mind had always doubted. There was substance. There was support. There was certainty. Each step tested, the world confirmed, the water sang. And the melody repeated, gentle but insistent, one more. One more. One more. The body obeyed not because it was commanded but because the invitation was irresistible. The stars reflected in the water-shaped constellations never charted, ephemeral symbols drawn only for this traveler, in this moment. One shimmered like a key, another like circles nested within circles, and another like a spiral turning inward and outward at once. They were not patterns to be explained, but sensations to be felt, openness, belonging, return without loss. Each was read not by the eyes but by the body, by the soul, an alphabet of light deciphered step by step. A subtle breeze stirred, neither cold nor warm, but alert. With it came a memory without image, the memory of being born to cross. To cross old fears, rigid boundaries, forgotten lines. Here, above the mirrored sky, boundaries no longer mattered. The bridge refused limits, preferring the ease of what fit naturally. Everything was shaped perfectly for the moment. The body slowed further, savoring every movement. Between one step and the next stretched an eternity of silence, vast, weightless silence that did not press but held. Breath joined as an old friend, inhale to receive, exhale to give thanks. Walking became gratitude, and gratitude became music. The river's glow revealed layers upon layers, as though beneath the surface lay countless veils of light. With each step, they aligned, like pages arranging themselves in a book. And the book spoke one word only: continue. No warnings, no threats, only trust. Trust to see with openness, to walk with gentleness, to listen with depth. From a distance, an onlooker might have guessed at miracle or trick or dream. Yet up close, no proof was needed. The body held steady, the river sang, the horizon breathed. Ahead, the valley drew back, opening for what lay beyond. Behind, nothing pulled. The past rested in gratitude, quiet and complete. The present filled everything. The song shifted again, barely, but enough to be felt. It aligned memory with possibility, desire with direction, peace with courage. It was a calming voice without words, a soothing bedtime story without lines, yet clearer than explanation. The body understood, and when the body understands, everything else follows. The rhythm remained: inhale, advance, exhale, rest. And in that simple sway, the bridge continued to rise beneath the feet. Each touch made the unseen path more real. The invisible answered generously, forming step by step. The river, witness, played its harp, while the stars above reflected every signal below. Walking was agreement with the cosmos. From time to time, the breeze carried subtle fragrance, lavender, perhaps, or a scent born only when night agrees to sing. It did not come from the banks but from the path itself, as though the bridge offered gifts to those who dared. Small gifts, shoulders relaxing, jaws unclenching, eyes softening behind closed lids. These gifts contained the secret of falling asleep fast, not forcing rest, but letting it arrive as the bridge did, when the heart consented. And the heart did consent. Entirely. There was no hurry for the other side. Hurry belongs to fear, and fear had no place here. What existed was serene curiosity, the kind that opens doors without pushing, that asks questions without demanding answers. In return, the world offered signs, two sparks of light forming an arch, a pattern rising like a gate, flutes joining the melody where none had been before. The path recognized the traveler. Far ahead, the horizon thickened, not with shape but with presence. The air grew dense like dawn, even without sunrise. The body sensed it before the eyes. And sensing was enough. The bridge would continue as long as there was a step to give. That was its secret: to advance was to trust. to let go of weight, of certainty, of control, and allow rhythm to lead. The water's song carried him forward, step after step, each one a seed planted in invisible ground. And each seed bloomed the instant it touched. The bridge flowered beneath his feet, and to flower they're meant to sustain. The world held him. Sleep held him too, not the sleep of forgetting, but of restoring, embracing, remaking. This was not just a relaxing sleep story, it was one being lived. When the mind tried to reclaim control, the music rose by a thread, gentle and firm, reminding him, trust. That was enough. The body returned to its rhythm and rediscovered the truth of every journey. The first step never ends. It repeats in each step that follows, a continuous beginning. The bridge knew this. The river knew this. The sky knew this. And at last, so did the traveler. And so, upon the sky reflected in the river, he walked on. Light. Certain. The music held. The glow guided. And between each step stretched vast silence, assuring that all was well. The first step was still unfolding, now, always, and with it, the shining promise that some paths exist only for those whose hearts are willing to cross. With the first invisible steps behind him, something subtle began to change. The air, once dense with anticipation, grew lighter, as though part of its weight had been gently lifted away. Breathing no longer required effort. Each inhale carried fresh clarity, and each exhale dissolved the heaviness of hours gone by. The wind, once a low murmur, softened into a gentle caress, brushing against the skin without urgency, reminding him that here there was no need to hurry. It was then he realized, he was no longer walking only upon a glowing river. He was between two worlds. Behind him stretched the valley he knew, its night-blooming flowers, the distant songs of hidden birds, the familiar moon mirrored on the water. It was a place that held memory, safety, the comfort of all that had already been lived. Ahead, however, something entirely different awaited. The horizon divided like a page split by an unseen line, on one side, what had always been, on the other, an invitation into the impossible, landscapes that looked as though they were born from dreams. The threshold was not sharp. There was no wall, no gate, no barrier. It was a transition so delicate it could have been mistaken for the stirring of a forgotten memory. He could still turn back and see everything that had brought him here. Yet when his gaze lifted forward, it dissolved into visions that defied every familiar logic. First, a pale aurora rose upon the horizon, though the night still held its place in the sky. It was neither sun nor moon but a living light, painting the air in shifting bands of gold and blue. It dazzled nothing, instead, it embraced, calming and guiding. Beyond it stood mountains that refused to remain mountains. Their shapes changed with each heartbeat, as if sculpted from solid mist. At times they seemed to be towers of crystal, at others, dense forests, at others still, pillars of light holding up the very firmament. They had no single form, because they were not meant to be fixed. They were living reflections of every dream ever dreamt. His feet remained firm upon the unseen path, but his heart began to float. Each step carried him deeper into this fluid frontier, where reality and dream intertwined. The landscapes did not demand belief, they offered themselves freely. Each detail seemed to wait upon his choice, to see or not to see, to believe or not to believe. Behind him, the valley breathed softly, as though whispering, "You may return whenever you wish." Ahead, the promise was different: continue, and what does not yet exist will be created before you. The air itself vibrated, carrying the sense that these two realms were not separate but woven together. It was like hearing two songs at once, one familiar, the other entirely new, yet in their harmony they created the music of the crossing. He understood then, being between two worlds meant standing at the threshold of the possible. There was no demand to decide at once. Here, he could feel the gentle weight of choice, taste the serenity of uncertainty, rest upon the border like one resting at a harbor. The divided horizon did not rush him. It opened wide, generous, and whispered, "All has its time." The dream landscapes unfolded further. Trees of impossible height glowed with their own light, crowns shining like constellations rooted to the earth. Suspended lakes hovered in the air, reflecting stars that did not belong to that sky. Roads of golden mist stretched forward, rolling themselves open with each step taken. Everything pulsed with life, not biological life, but symbolic life, existence made of meaning, memory, and hope. The traveler's heart, already surrendered, sensed that this between was not only external but internal. Within him, too, horizons doubled. On one side, what was known, safe, and predictable; on the other, what waited to be born. Time itself bent. There were no hours, no minutes. There was only presence. The now expanded into vastness, an ocean of possibility. Behind him lay everything that had been lived. Ahead shimmered everything that could be lived. And he, balanced between, discovered that to cross did not mean to abandon, it meant to integrate. The invisible bridge was not merely a path from one world to another. It revealed that both worlds could coexist. The valley of reality and the landscapes of dream were not opposites, they were mirrors. To be between two worlds was to realize that every horizon is doubled, that each step carries memory and future, that every breath holds silence and promise. And so he continued. Behind him lay the world that knew his name. Before him stretched the world that awaited him with unnamed secrets. And he, in the middle, walked calmly, for he now understood. The path was not about choosing between two worlds, but about learning to become the bridge between them. The first parallel realm revealed itself like a sigh of light above the divided horizon. There was no rupture, no thunderous announcement, only the unveiling of a translucent veil, and then the vision, a landscape both impossible and perfectly ordered, where water defied gravity and joined the sky in a living union. Cascades were born from the ground, rising in crystalline columns, and instead of falling, they ascended. They climbed gently, endlessly, like incense smoke lifting upward, as if every drop were a thought returning home. Rivers streamed toward the stars. They did not flow through beds of stone but along luminous channels suspended in the air, as if the very atmosphere had thickened into delicate waterways. Listening closely, one could hear not the roar of falls but the faint brushing of silk, the delicate chime of distant bells. The water whispered its own melody, and that melody cared for the heart. Worries dissolved in its rhythm the way salt vanishes in the sea. The mind surrendered. The body, relieved, gave thanks. Instead of rain, the sky received. Tiny pearls of water rose from the earth in schools of drops, joining clouds that blossomed from the ground up. These clouds carried no weight, they were vaporous gardens, cradling liquid memories as they drifted upward. From time to time, they released streams into the firmament, and the rivers, in gratitude, responded with luminous constellations, rewriting the heavens each second in the calligraphy of water. Fish of light swam in the open air. They were not flesh and scales but glowing beings, gentle lanterns moving along the rising rivers in unhurried, graceful motions. They circled close, leaving trails of brightness that dissolved like perfumed sparks. Touching them brought no moisture, only soft warmth, the kind of warmth that eased weary shoulders and softened tired eyes. In silence, they seemed to chart invisible routes, as if guiding newcomers and lending them stars to navigate. Floating islands drifted not like rocks carried by currents, but like blank pages lifted by steady breezes. Upon them grew liquid plants, their leaves translucent blades that sang like harps when crossed by the wind. Each island resonated with its own tone, low, mid, or high, and as they moved slowly through the realm, they composed vast music, a soothing bedtime story without words, a harmony that steadied breath and heart, preparing the body for deep sleep. The traveler felt his chest echo with the rhythm of this place. Breathing in was like drinking clarity, breathing out, releasing ancient burdens. The air tasted of calm. Each step grew lighter, as if his feet no longer pressed against a path but glided across the surface of an invisible lake. The way forward did not lie waiting ahead, it was created beneath his soles, a film of liquid firming at the very moment of contact. There was no danger here, only welcome. The rising waterfalls changed colors with the angle of the gaze, sometimes deep blue, as though swallowing the night, sometimes golden, as though drinking the moon, sometimes perfectly transparent, revealing memories flowing in reverse, scenes of the past rising back into the sky to be washed clean of sorrow. Watching brought no pain, only relief. It was insomnia relief embodied, like opening a long-closed window to let in the perfect breeze. Ascending rivers shaped arches without stone. They formed liquid bridges, slender and shimmering, that could be crossed without a single drop touching the skin, as though the water itself recognized the traveler. Each crossing summoned crystalline tones, while the fish of light drew closer, circling in constellations around him. Crossing lifted not only the body but the spirit. Thoughts cleared, tension melted, and calm flowed like a gift. There was no gravity here as known in the ordinary world. There was, instead, the law of gentleness. Everything obeyed softness. Drops colliding did not make sound, they produced glow. Currents meeting did not battle for direction, they created harmony. Clouds that gathered rivers did not devour, they cradled, like mothers holding newborns. The care soaked into everything. And so, the one who walked here began to care for himself in the same way. Thoughts softened, words lightened, expectations loosened. In the distance, an amphitheater of foam terraces rose, steps carved in mist, holding pools of still water. Each pool was an eye gazing upward, forests of liquid sprouting not downward but up, with transparent roots and crowns of light. Within them lived tiny beings like animated dew blossoms, pulsing open and closed in slow rhythm, perfect metronomes of serenity. At certain points, the realm formed tunnels of lifted water, curving corridors through which one could walk without fear. Inside, the world became the body of an instrument, and the traveler's breath became music. Inhale, the dome hummed one note. Exhale, the dome answered another. Two tones alone created rest. Time ceased to count, holding only the rhythm of one ready to fall asleep fast. Aquatic birds, if such they could be called, moved in endless flight swims through the liquid skies. They bore no feathers but filaments of transparency, as if made from the same fabric as the rising falls. When they opened their wings, the realm responded with shifts of light, each gesture a chord in the symphony. The beauty was not spectacle, it was harmony. Nothing was excess, nothing was lacking. All was tuned to sustain peace. The traveler stopped before a suspended lake. Its edge glowed with light, and at its center formed a lens that magnified constellations. Leaning close, he saw his reflection, not a surface image, but an essence. The lake did not show features, it showed states. It revealed the calm blooming within, the weight dissolving away, the inner space opening for rest. He touched it with his fingertips, and it answered not with wetness but with embrace. As though an unseen hand held his and whispered, "Stay." There were paths of droplets, pointillous trails that glowed beneath his steps. Each light flared as the foot pressed and then dissolved, like sparks that knew the precise moment to vanish. Walking them felt like reading a luminous score, each footstep marked a note, the pool tuned it, the fish accompanied, and the world itself hummed in harmony. It was a composition of tranquility, and tranquility was the native language of this realm. One curve revealed a waterfall arch so perfect it became a portal. Beyond it stretched a corridor of sky, vertical and endless. Rivers streamed upward within it, reaching galaxies in miniature, spirals of stardust stitching the firmament together. The sight was vast yet silent, and the traveler's chest swelled, unbidden, to receive it. Inhaling was blessing, exhaling, thanksgiving. The promise of rest here was undeniable. The body, long accustomed to maps of tension, was redrawn. The neck loosened, the jaw released, the breath deepened. The realm of suspended waters taught without words, simply remaining here was lesson enough. The lesson's secret name was rest, rest that did not postpone life, but returned it whole. It was said, and here, one could believe, that all who entered this place learned the art of letting go. Letting go of falling, in a land where everything rose without effort. Letting go of haste, in a place where everything arrived at its proper time. Letting go of fear, in a world that sustained before it was asked. And so, those who returned carried with them a memory of lightness, a gentle gravity that followed even into ordinary life, reminding them not to force, not to harden, not to forget the sky. Farther on, a liquid balcony appeared, a suspended terrace made not of form but of flow. Stepping upon it, the traveler neither sank nor floated, he simply remained. From there, the panorama stretched wide, ascending columns, rivers riding across the heavens, singing islands, cradle clouds, lanternfish. all of it orchestrated with one purpose: to teach the body what the soul had never forgotten, that peace is the natural direction when one surrenders to the greater rhythm. And when the vision seemed complete, one last gentleness appeared, a fine inverted drizzle, rising like invisible hands offering water to the sky. It did not wet, it perfumed. Lavender and fresh mineral air drifted upward, a silent invitation to rest. The heart accepted instantly. There was silence within silence, and in it, the whole world fit. The realm of suspended waters asked for no farewell. It knew that whoever found it would carry its mark within. And so, with body eased and mind surrendered, the traveler felt the crossing continue. Ahead, other landscapes called, forests that sang, cities that dreamed. But for one full moment, he chose only to breathe, to remember waterfalls that rose, rivers that wrote stars, and fish that taught light. When at last he stepped onward, nothing was broken. The realm remained whole, like a melody continuing even when one leaves the room. And within him, the same melody lingered, measures of calm, harmonies of trust, a lullaby of sleep arriving easily, as though it had always known the way home. The second parallel realm appeared like a deep breath after the freshness of the suspended waters. As the traveler moved forward, an expanse of green rose before his eyes, a forest unlike any ever known. There was no suffocating darkness, no heavy shadows. Instead, every tree seemed to carry within itself the memory of stars, as though living columns of light had chosen to root themselves into the earth. The trees were impossibly tall, their trunks disappearing into infinity like the pillars of a natural cathedral. Their crowns were not made of mere leaves but of constellations. Thousands of glowing points shimmered softly, creating the sense that the sky itself had descended to dwell among the branches. Each leaf was a miniature star, pulsing with a steady rhythm, as if breathing. And the traveler realized that these constellations were not only above his head, they surrounded him on every side, close enough to touch. Then came the sound. Not the chaotic chorus of an ordinary forest filled with bird calls and rustling creatures, but a perfect harmony rising from the very heart of the trees. Each trunk carried a tone, each branch another, and together they formed a song that was not music in the human sense but something greater, a vibration that entered the body and settled deep within, aligning breath, heartbeat, and thought. The melody was so soft it felt as though it came from inside, as if every cell of the body had found its proper pitch for rest. It was impossible not to feel blessed by it. Each sound echoed like a benediction of profound calm, dissolving anxieties, melting away old fears, silencing invisible noise that so often weighs unnoticed. The forest did not sing only to the ears, it sang to the entire being. The traveler stepped further, and even the ground revealed itself as part of the symphony. The soil was carpeted with luminous leaves that released delicate notes when touched, like crystal harps beneath the feet. No footsteps were silent here, every movement became music. The forest wanted no outsider, it drew each visitor into its eternal choir. There was no intrusion, for every sound was welcomed, every echo woven into harmony. Deeper still, the traveler noticed that some trees did more than glow and sing, they swayed gently, as if breathing. Their slow undulations altered the harmony, shifting tones and creating new layers of sound. The air vibrated, the wind became an instrument, and even silence itself was woven into the fabric of the song. The music awakened images. Each note summoned memories not belonging to a single life but to all lives: an afternoon by a calm river, an embrace that dissolved distance, a sunset that never faded from the mind. The forest seemed to hold within it every moment of peace humanity had ever known and offered them back, multiplied. He came upon a clearing, lit by crowns that opened like cathedral domes. At its center stood an immense tree, its trunk glowing with golden intensity. When it released its note, the others fell silent for a breath, making space for the principal voice. The sound that followed was not merely heard but felt, a warm wave coursing through the entire body. The heart answered, quickening slightly, then settling into a slower, steadier rhythm. In that moment, the traveler understood that this was Northwest Mere Grove. It was a sonic portal. The realm of eternal forests was not only a place, it was a state of being. To be here was to align with a greater harmony, a frequency that led to rest. Each chord peeled away the layers of tension, opening space for deep sleep, the kind that restores and renews. Around him, small beings of light emerged among the roots. They had no fixed forms, sometimes sparks, sometimes ethereal silhouettes, but they all danced in perfect timing with the music. They spoke no words, their presence was enough. They were guardians, keeping balance in the symphony. Watching them brought instant reassurance, as if nothing could disturb the peace of this place. The entire forest felt like a vast lullaby composed to cradle the weary. The traveler noticed his body lighter, his mind clearer, his breath deeper. He could have lain down upon the glowing leaves and surely would have fallen asleep fast, held by the eternal choir of the trees. And yet, there was more. As the harmony swelled, he sensed that the forest did not sing only for him. It sang for the universe itself. Each note carried outward, beyond sight, across realms, into distant worlds. The song of the trees was the invisible thread binding all parallel universes together. The traveler realized he was truly standing in the heart of something eternal. And this eternity did not overwhelm, it comforted. It promised that as long as music remained, harmony remained, and as long as harmony endured, rest would always be possible. Before moving on, he closed his eyes. He allowed the melody to pass fully through him, touching every organ, every muscle, every thought. For a moment, he ceased to be a witness. He became part of the choir. His breath, his heartbeat, his thoughts, all tuned themselves to the realm of eternal forests. When he opened his eyes again, the forest still sang. Nothing had changed. Yet everything within him had changed. He could continue his journey, but he knew he would never be the same. For once a soul has heard the choir of trees that shine like constellations, that sound remains forever, a reminder etched into the heart that profound calm is always within reach, waiting to be remembered. The third parallel realm revealed itself to the traveler as a silent revelation. There were no thunderous gates, no dazzling bursts of light. Only a gentle curve along the invisible path, and suddenly, on the horizon, structures began to shimmer, palaces and towers impossible in form, as if the dreams of ancient architects had taken shape and settled into eternal rest. crystal palaces rose delicately, their transparent walls catching and multiplying the stars until the heavens seemed close enough to touch. No artificial light shone here, only the infinite reflection of starlight, turning every tower into a calm beacon. These palaces did not stand rigid, they breathed faintly, their surfaces expanding and contracting in rhythms so subtle they resembled the pulse of something alive. Even what appeared eternal carried its own heartbeat. Floating towers drifted above, held by invisible currents, as if gravity itself had chosen to sleep. Some revolved slowly, others stood still, yet all glowed with silver and gold hues, radiating vibrations felt more than heard. Each tower seemed to hold a single note within, and together they created a harmony inaudible to ears yet perfectly tuned to the heart. The streets stretched below, not made of stone or dust, but of a soft, liquid-like substance that supported the feet without effort. Walking upon them was like walking across dense clouds, molding themselves gently around each step, returning quiet energy with every movement. No footsteps echoed, only a faint whisper, as though even the ground honored the profound silence that ruled the city. This silence was not emptiness. It was full, protective silence. Each corner seemed to preserve millennia of stories, each wall to hold whispers of memories laid down to rest. Time did not move here. It had stopped, not from inertia but from choice. It was as if the universe's deepest secrets needed a sanctuary, and this city was their cradle. As the traveler moved forward, he realized there were no visible inhabitants. And yet, the city was not deserted. Presence lingered in every detail, as if memories walked here in another dimension. On palace balconies, shadows of light drifted gently, and within suspended stained glass windows, ethereal forms appeared, outlines of people not bound by time. They were not ghosts or apparitions but recollections made visible, memories choosing to remain. Within the crystal palaces lay vast halls lined with translucent columns reflecting the stars. When the wind passed through them, soft tones rang like distant chimes. The sound spread across the city, a rhythm keeping all things in gentle accord. The traveler's body naturally fell into step with it, his breathing drawn into harmony with that invisible melody. In some places, he found gardens floating on crystal platforms. Flowers grew there, their colors shifting with starlight, deep blues, pale golds, silver sparkles. Their perfume was faint, nearly shy, but so delicate that it calmed the heart at once. Inhaling that fragrance felt like receiving a balm, dissolving hidden tensions, and inviting the body toward deep sleep. The streets led not to narrow alleys or bustling squares but to wide esplanades, open and serene, where the sky reflected not only above but below, mirrored in the translucent ground. It was as though the entire city was a vast star, catching and returning light from every angle. From time to time, arches of crystal appeared along the path, marking thresholds. They did not close anything, they simply reminded, here, time has no urgency. Here, you may rest. Passing beneath them sent waves of calm through the traveler's body. With each portal crossed, the mind emptied further, and the body relaxed into deeper states of peace. In one plaza, there stood a fountain unlike any he had seen. It did not pour water but liquid light. Gentle beams rose and fell in circular patterns, forming figures that resembled constellations in motion. Watching them, the traveler realized each design matched a thought of his own dissolving into brilliance. The fountain was an altar of release, accepting burdens and returning them as serenity. The sleeping cities had unseen guardians. They were not figures but presences, sensed in vibrations of the air. Whenever the traveler approached a palace or stepped into a main avenue, he felt waves of embrace, as though invisible arms gathered him close. Fear was impossible here. The entire realm was a sanctuary of comfort. Here, sleep itself took on new meaning. It was not only rest for the body but rest for the story of life itself. To stand within the realm of sleeping cities was to pause the narrative, to allow every ache, every urgency, every weary memory to settle into safekeeping. Ancient sorrows, restless desires, tired recollections, all found a place to be laid down, to be preserved, even to be transformed into luminous silence. The traveler knew he could remain here for centuries without noticing time pass. For in these streets, time did not exist as he knew it. There was only presence, only stillness, only the eternal now that asked nothing and offered everything. Before moving on, he stood before one of the floating towers. He closed his eyes and let its vibration move through him. It was a wave of warmth, like a song without voice, dissolving all resistance. When he opened his eyes again, the tower seemed closer, as if it had recognized him, as if it had greeted him. The realm of sleeping cities required no farewells. It simply remained, like a harbor always waiting. As the traveler continued on, he understood, part of him would forever rest here, in silence, in light, in calm. And part of the city, in turn, would journey with him, a reminder that time can rest, and that somewhere in the universe even secrets lie down to sleep. The farther the traveler advanced along the invisible bridge, the clearer it became that this was no ordinary path. It was not built to connect one point to another. There was no sign of arrival ahead, no sense of conclusion. The bridge did not obey the logic of space. With each step he discovered it was not a road leading to a single destination, but an endless crossing, a passage into infinite possibilities. His feet, steady upon the ground that formed out of nothingness, carried not only his body but the experience of creation itself. With each movement forward, new bands of light appeared, expanding in directions that had not existed a heartbeat before. It was as if the act of trusting the next step generated entire universes, born from the courage to continue. The horizon shifted constantly. At times it opened into golden deserts, dunes breathing like living beings. At times it revealed suspended oceans, waves hovering without falling. At others, it blossomed into aerial gardens where flowers sang to the wind. Nothing repeated. Nothing was fixed. The infinite crossing led not to a single realm but to all realms imaginable. The traveler realized he was not moving forward alone. He was moving inward, upward, outward, and beyond. Each step was a key, unlocking doors to worlds that coexisted, waiting only for presence to awaken them. The infinite crossing was not about reaching somewhere, but about understanding there are no limits to where one may go when the heart trusts. The air grew lighter with every breath. There was no fatigue, because there was no distance to conquer. Time was not a measure but an expansion. A single second seemed to contain centuries, and each minute dissolved like a drop in an ocean. It felt as though everything already existed, and walking was only unveiling what had always been there. Stars multiplied in both sky and surface, reflecting across the bridge. Each step lit constellations into being. The traveler was not merely walking upon a path, he was walking across galaxies. Every reflection pulsed, reminding him that the universe was alive, that each soul holds power to draw its own orbit. The sound that accompanied the journey was no longer only the water's music or the forest's choir. It was a greater harmony, infinite in scope, gathering all melodies from the realms already crossed and weaving them into a boundless symphony. At times a whisper, at times an ocean, the music was the bridge itself, announcing its eternal presence. Soon the traveler sensed he was not alone. With every step, subtle presences stirred, echoes of others who had once walked this same crossing. Their footprints resonated silently alongside his, as though the bridge preserved all passages within its memory. He felt companionship without sight, reassurance that no one walks alone when they dare to traverse the unknown. The bridge began to offer invisible branches. The traveler knew he could follow any direction, and each would be right. In the infinite crossing there were no wrong choices, only paths that curved uniquely and rejoined at the center of existence. It was like standing within a web of light, each strand leading to its own discovery yet woven into one endless whole. The mind, long trained to seek destination and purpose, softened into the heart. There was no where to arrive. There was only how to continue. And to continue meant to trust, to surrender, to accept that infinity need not be understood to be lived. The body, once heavy with expectation, unburdened itself. Muscles released, thoughts slowed, and sleep approached like a welcome guest rather than an intruder. Wrapped in the bridge's radiance, the traveler felt that each step was also a rest. There was no rush to arrive, there was only serenity in discovering. And in this, he uncovered the secret so often missed in ordinary life. The true destination is not where one ends, but the peace one finds along the way. Sometimes infinity revealed itself through dreamlike visions, a childhood street carved in crystal, a beloved face drawn in light, a forgotten landscape returned in impossible colors. Each appeared only briefly, reminding him that infinity gathers memory too, shaping them into gateways for rest. Farther along, the bridge curved back upon itself, folding space like a ribbon. Walking felt like moving in a circle without ever repeating. Each turn unveiled new images, new sensations, new worlds. The infinite crossing was not a straight road but a spiral unfolding in every direction. And within that spiral, the traveler understood the true meaning of the journey. The infinite bridge led nowhere because it was itself the destination. To walk upon it was to arrive. Each step was an arrival. Each step was also a departure. Infinity was not in endings but in continuance. Here, deep sleep became inevitable. The body, rocked by the rhythm of infinity, surrendered easily. Not a sleep of escape, but of reunion. The traveler saw that rest was also a crossing, that to fall asleep fast was to step inward, to traverse a world just as endless as the bridge itself. Before yielding fully to calm, one last certainty gleamed. In the infinite crossing, every step opens a new path, and every path is an invitation to rest deeper, dream higher, live gentler. Infinity is not far away. Infinity happens now, in each breath, in each step, in the silence that holds all things. And so the traveler continued, not toward an ending but toward the eternal present. The invisible bridge did not finish because it did not need to. It was built to last forever, carrying those who dare to walk. And within the serenity of this truth, the soul found rest. The infinite crossing was also the infinite promise of peace. With each step upon the invisible bridge, the traveler discovered more than new realms, he discovered himself. In that serene rhythm, cradled by infinity, a simple yet grand truth unfolded: there are no rigid limits between worlds. The borders are fragile, almost transparent, and it takes only a thought, a dream, or a deep desire for a secret passage to open. This revelation did not come as an external voice but as a gentle whisper within the soul, an understanding that settled effortlessly. The traveler recalled each realm he had crossed, the suspended waters that taught lightness, the eternal forests that sang harmony, the sleeping cities that preserved secrets in silence, and finally, the infinite crossing, where everything became possible. Each place was distinct, yet all were woven together by the same invisible energy, threads of light forming an endless tapestry. Thought, he realized, was a key. Dreams were doors. Desires were bridges. No barrier was final to one who allowed imagination to guide the way. The simple act of closing the eyes, breathing deeply, and believing was enough to traverse, for the energy connecting worlds does not rely on maps or coordinates, it responds to the heart. He reflected on the life left behind in the ordinary world, where people so often believe they are bound to a single road or inescapable fate. How many times are dreams dismissed as mere distractions? How often is imagination forgotten, buried beneath urgency and obligation? Upon the invisible bridge, that illusion dissolved. Everything is connected. Each choice opens pathways, each thought draws roads that may yet be walked. Even moments of stillness, which seem empty, are crossings. A sigh may be a portal. A memory may be a doorway. A desire, however small, can ignite an entire path. The universe responds not only to action, but to feeling. As he walked, the traveler began to sense that the realms he visited were not left behind, they now lived within him. The serenity of the suspended waters flowed in his veins. The choir of the eternal forests pulsed in his heart as a secret hymn. The protective silence of the sleeping cities echoed in his mind as a constant refuge. And the infinite crossing lingered in his very steps, reminding him that every moment can be both beginning and arrival. Gratitude rose in him like dawn. Gratitude for knowing that life is not a single road but a vast network of possibilities. Gratitude for realizing that imagination is not escape but access. Gratitude for discovering that in each calm breath there is a chance to cross into a place of rest, dream, and renewal. He also saw that he had never been alone. Echoes of other travelers still resonated on the bridge, and he understood that each person who dares to imagine helps keep the crossing alive. It was as if all the dreamers of the world were connected by a single thread of light, holding one another across time and distance. This quiet web formed a community of souls, each sharing the same destiny, to cross. In this awareness, he realized that deep sleep was not only rest for the body but also a journey of the soul. Each night, with closed eyes, a new bridge appears. Each dream is a parallel realm, a landscape where lessons can be learned, rest embraced, and life renewed. Sleep is not disconnection from life but reunion with it in its most subtle forms. The invisible bridge taught that there is no divide between real and imagined. What today seems fantasy may tomorrow become a path. What now remains unspoken may in time bloom into reality. This knowledge dissolved fear, erased barriers, and opened space for trust. Infinity was not distant, it began with the next thought, the next breath. The traveler smiled softly. He felt that he carried within him all the worlds he had walked through and that he could return to them whenever he wished. To close the eyes, to breathe deeply, to remember, that was enough. The bridge does not vanish when unseen. It waits, patient, for every traveler who dares to believe. Before moving on, he paused to contemplate the vastness around him. There was no fixed horizon, only infinite openings, each glowing with its own promise. And he understood, the true magic of the invisible bridge was not in carrying him to a faraway place, but in reminding him that all worlds already live inside him, ready to be revealed at any moment. With this certainty, the traveler surrendered once more to the rhythm of the crossing. His body grew lighter, his mind quieter, as though the universe itself rocked him gently. Each reflection became calm. Each calm became sleep. And in that sleep, each dream would be a new journey, a new bridge, a new secret passage. The return did not begin with a sudden break or a sharp command. It unfolded softly, like dawn rising after the depths of night. With each step, the mist surrounding the invisible bridge dissolved into golden threads, drifting away like fragments of a dream reluctant to vanish. The bridge, which once seemed endless, began to fade gently before his eyes. It was not destruction, but farewell. The luminous bands that had carried his steps withdrew one by one, as though the crossing itself, having fulfilled its purpose, returned quietly to silence. The traveler felt no sense of loss, only an invitation to keep everything he had lived within his heart. The air thickened slightly, drawing closer to the familiar weight of the ordinary world, yet it carried a new softness, as if infused with memories of the realms he had crossed. The echoes of the forest's choir lingered faintly, the delicate fragrance of the sleeping cities drifted near, and the shimmer of rivers that once flowed to the stars clung to his memory. It was as if each realm whispered its own farewell, leaving a gentle trace behind. He realized he was not returning empty. Each world had placed an invisible gift in his hands, the lightness of the suspended waters, the harmony of the eternal forests, the protective silence of the sleeping cities, the vastness of the infinite crossing, and the wisdom of the reflections binding them all. None of these treasures were left behind. They followed him inward, becoming not memories but part of his essence. When he looked back, the bridge seemed never to have existed. The mist had nearly vanished, and once more the silent valley stretched before him, the place where his journey had begun. And yet, everything appeared changed. The valley was the same, but it seemed larger, as though his vision had expanded. Reality now shimmered with the glow of parallel realms, and even the simplest breeze carried secret murmurs. Walking across the valley, he felt his body lighter, as if an unseen burden had been lifted. His heart beat in a steady rhythm, echoing faintly with the music of the trees. His mind, once full of restless questions, had grown quiet, content with the knowledge that not all mysteries need answers. The return itself was a lesson. One does not need to see the bridge to know it still exists. The traveler understood he had crossed through his own heart as much as across worlds. The invisible bridge was not only an external path but a mirror within, a reminder that every soul carries the ability to create realms, to uncover secrets, and to rest in peace. The crossing had not ended, it had changed form. Now the bridge lived inside him, ready to appear again whenever he closed his eyes and breathed deeply. Colors of twilight blossomed across the horizon, painting the sky in rose, violet, and gold. Night was arriving with the return, not to erase what had been lived, but to preserve it, like a sacred chest safeguarding treasures too precious to lose. Near the riverbank, he paused and sat in stillness. The ordinary waters flowed gently, yet they no longer seemed ordinary. Each ripple carried the memory of rivers ascending toward the stars. Each bird in the distance recalled the luminous beings that once danced between worlds. The simple had become sacred, transformed by new eyes. Silence deepened, not as emptiness, but as fullness. He felt no need to move, no urgency to act. The present moment was enough. His heart, at peace, rested easily. His body, softened by calm, prepared for deep sleep, not as an escape, but as a continuation of the journey. The gentle return was not an ending but a threshold, the perfect space to drift into rest. Night fell slowly, like a protective veil. Stars appeared one by one, and the traveler closed his eyes, certain he was not alone. The invisible bridge remained within him, and all the realms he had crossed still existed, sustained by the memory of his passage and the promise of dreams yet to come. And so the gentle return was complete. The silent valley now held not only the memory of departure but also the certainty of crossing. Serene, the traveler allowed himself to be gathered into the stillness of night, knowing that every dream from this moment onward would also be a bridge, and that each awakening would bring the chance to cross again into secret worlds. The crossing reached its end, yet the echo of the journey lingered. Just as the invisible bridge opened paths to parallel realms, so too within each of us exist secret passages leading to peace and rest. These passages do not need to be sought outside, they wait quietly in the still corners of the soul, ready to reveal themselves the moment we allow calm to enter. Every image of this journey, the waters that flowed upward into the sky, the trees that sang in chorus, the crystal palaces suspended in silence, the infinite crossing expanding with every step, and the gentle return to the silent valley, was not merely a story told. They were reminders that the human heart carries entire universes, always waiting to be crossed whenever we choose to dream. Just as the traveler found serenity in each realm, you too may find rest in every night. When you close your eyes, breathe deeply and remember, within you lies an invisible bridge. It connects what seems distant, unites what appears divided, and carries every thought, every dream, every desire into a place of profound calm. Allow yourself to step onto that bridge. Allow yourself to rest. Trust that sleep is not only a pause, but a passage. With every night's surrender, you cross into realms that renew your strength, illuminate your mind, and restore your soul. Each dream is a doorway. Each awakening, a new opportunity to continue. May this story be more than words. May it be a soft embrace for your mind, a gentle melody for your heart, and a quiet invitation to peace. May you drift into sleep with the certainty of being safe, held, and guided by the invisible force that binds all worlds, including your own. And if this story brought calm to your heart, if it helped your thoughts grow quiet and your breath find its rhythm, remember there are many more crossings waiting for you. Subscribe and journey with us on new voyages every night. Each video is a new bridge, a new chance to uncover secrets hidden in the gentle stillness of the night. May peace walk beside you. May rest find space within you. And may the invisible bridge reveal itself whenever you need it, reminding you that infinity can always be reached in the simple act of dreaming. Good night.